For all the best boxing content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and punch that bell for notifications.
And there is Chop Chop. Such a character as we've seen through the years. Still fit and ready at 37, 5'7", 143 from Washington, D.C. Seen it all, still active, 37, 17, and 1. He's lost 4 in a row, but against some name opponents, his split decision was his last outcome. You see the notable fights. Won the 140-pound title in 2001. Lost the WBO belt to Zab. 04, he lost to Floyd. In 05, Miguel Cotto, he had him damaged, but was TKO'd himself. And then last year, he was in there the distance with Marcos Maidana.
Our 3 judges, Kevin Morgan.
And could it be that we are about to watch the next great Puerto Rican star on the rise? His promoter and many who have seen him think Thomas Dulorme could be just that. 21 years old, 5'10", 144, 3-inch height advantage tonight. Time to see how the fighters will keep their edge. Brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard.
Well, let's go with the undefeated Dulorme first. Corley is 37 years old, so go to that old body. He's been dropped and hurt there before. And for Corley, well, survive early and get him into the late rounds and use that southpaw right hook.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Thomas Dulorme.
Dulorme and Chop Chop are scheduled for 10 rounds. And Harvey Dock will be our referee.
Okay, guys, we went over the instructions earlier. Cups look good. Obey my commands at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Toca los guantes. Buena suerte. Good luck.
So Corley has lost his last 4 and 6 of his last 7, but to good fighters.
Yes, indeed. When you look through that list, obviously Marcos Maidana, we mentioned that. Had a split decision loss up in Canada in a fight.
A lot of people think Corley at 37 years of age, 55 fights, is a little shot worn. 2 fights ago, he was on the floor 9 times before being knocked out. One thing he's never short on is plenty of heart. He has come off the floor in fights to win. As you can see, Corley in the red and black is a southpaw.
And he made his debut back in 1996. He was 21 years old then. And Thomas was only 5 years old at the time.
Dulorme scored a knockout over a southpaw in his last fight. So that's a pretty confident way to go into a fight with a veteran southpaw. Corley does get hit with right hands. Dulorme would like to land one. Corley is 16 years older. And to keep your edge, I said that basically Corley would like to get Dulorme into deep waters. He doesn't have to go far from shore to do that. Dulorme's never been past 4 rounds.
And that was his pro debut. He's been on a streak of second-round TKO victories in recent fights, his last 6. There's a lead right hand from Chop Chop that Dulorme tried to counter with a right.
You know, I've actually, in this very early, and that's why I'm going to say it, I think this is a good spot for Corley with his experience and skills, even diminished at 37 years of age, a chance to possibly expose an undefeated but untested prospect. I think it's a smart move by the people with Corley, mostly the manager, Igor Klimas. We'll find out how smart it is as time goes on, I guess.
There's a left hand that scored from Corley.
Right now, it looks to me like the 11-0, 21-year-old youngin in there, Dulorme, is tight. And a veteran of 55 fights is not.
Well, he's seen it all. Dulorme taking a step up here. You know, we talk so much through the years, Teddy, of watching some of these younger prospects that are heralded of not stepping it up, and here we are in fight 12 of Dulorme's young career and against a veteran guy.
Give him credit, absolutely.
So Dulorme and DeMarcus Corley coming to the end of round number 1. That young man in the green trunks is 21-year-old Thomas Dulorme. Caribbean native, was born in St. Martin, moved to the Dominican Republic and then to Puerto Rico, where he really hit the accelerator in his amateur boxing career, and now 11-0 with 10 knockouts as an emerging pro.
This is a good, you just touched on it the last round, that give credit to Dulorme. 21-year-old, 11-0, stepping up with a fighter 11 years his senior, who has fought for the world title. No doubt in my mind that this will be a good litmus test, a good barometer to find out just how good Dulorme is.
Placed a right hand to the body moments ago.
Good place to go to the body for 2 reasons. One, Corley's been hurt. He's been dropped by body shots. And the other, Corley likes to use his legs a little bit. At 37, he's not going to be on a motorcycle in there, but he'll step a little bit. You can take some of that stepping away, get him to stand in front of you a little bit by going downstairs.
Harvey Dock will separate them on the inside.
Only time that Dulorme 11-0 with 10 knockouts. He didn't score a knockout. And you might raise your eyebrows when I say this. The only time he did not score a knockout was he won a 4-round decision, and it was close. It was a majority decision against an opponent who was 1-2 at the time.
Speaking of knockouts, the Mavs are going to try to knock out the Miami Heat. NBA Finals will continue on ABC this Sunday night. Game 6, Dallas leads 3-2. Things will get underway at 7:30 Eastern. View it Regal NBA Countdown, and it's also available in Spectacular 3D. Friday Night Fights is going to be available in Spectacular 3D. Plenty this summer, starting in 2 weeks. A week ago, I asked you for your fearless NBA prediction, and after it was 1-1 and Miami looking like the better team, you said perhaps their will was broken with what happened the other night. Now Dallas is on the brink.
Yeah, they are. I just thought that, and I had said it actually a couple weeks earlier, that Dallas is just a much tougher version of the old Dallas Mavericks. The coach is doing a good job. They have a lot of players that can step in off the bench and be role players. I think mentally they are together.
To the inside, trying to get that right hand underneath before he held down on the top of Corley. Coming to the end of round number 2, they are scheduled for 10. Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend here in New York. Joe and Teddy with you ringside. Jeremy Schaap in studio for Brian Kenny tonight on Friday Night Fights. Round number 3 between Thomas Dulorme, good-looking prospect, unbeaten at 11-0, just 21 years old, against the veteran Chop Corley. Let's look at the CompuBox numbers through 2 rounds. The total punches, according to CompuBox, Dulorme with a 34-26 advantage, throwing 105 to Corley's 79.
Well, they have a common opponent, and the results of that common opponent speaks to who's the better puncher here. They both fought Harrison Coelho. Corley won an 8-round decision, while Dulorme knocked him out in the 2nd round.
It was one of the most spectacular knockouts so far this year. It was on the undercard of the Ortiz-Berto, and now you can see Dulorme is landing good combinations, and he's scoring with the right hand to the body in the midst of them.
It's clear to see who's younger. As we said, 16 years the younger. Dulorme, a little sharper, a little sprighter. and stronger.
That was an open right hand that time from Corley that more or less pushed Dulorme off balance to his right.
And you can see the strength advantage, as we talked about before, the power advantage when Dulorme lets the punches go, especially the right hand. Corley concentrating right now more on defense than figuring out any offense. Surprised to see an experienced guy like Corley not using that jab, especially since it's from the southpaw side or the southpaw side. As a lefty, you would think he would use that jab as much as possible with the young Dulorme, who hasn't seen a lot of southpaws.
Oh! Corley goes down hard.
5, 6, 7, 8. You go up. You all right?
Yeah. So that's the way you draw it up. You make a miss, and then you make them pay.
Last 10 seconds of the third. Chop, chop, trying to survive the young gun. And Dulorme on the attack. Look at him go. Dulorme has won 10 straight by knockout. That was against limited competition. Here, a faded former titleist at 37 years old, but still a guy who's active and capable. He just opened up again with that left-handed. Corley missed, and Dulorme came back with a shot he knocked him down with, that time just off the mark. The power punches in the last round. You know about the one we were replaying 3 times. There were 23 others against Corley's 4. He was targeting that body early. Now Corley lands a left hand against the 21-year-old.
Again, the 21-year-old Dulorme in the green, his confidence comes from his power. And most of his power comes from the right side. He likes to throw that right uppercut. And there it is. As much as he likes to throw the right hand up top. When he throws the right hand up top, it's crooked. For the most part, it is not straight. And that's why Corley's had a little success getting under it. He sees it coming a little bit with a curve to it, and he's been able to weave it. The problem is, in the last round, he weaved the punch and then he stopped in front. And Dulorme, little move to the side. As I said, the second punch found the mark. I think there's an opportunity for Corley, if he can get his confidence, to let his hands go. And obviously, right now, he's concentrating more on making sure his head doesn't get caught. Concentrating on defense. But Dulorme loves to throw that right hand, Joe. And he likes to throw the right uppercut. He starts it from too far away every once in a while. Watch him. He'll drop that hand and he'll launch it. And he did it right there. That's an opportunity for Corley. If he sees that hand drop, step in and beat him to the mark with the left hand. Not an easy thing to do when you have a punch in front of you. You have to have the discipline, the concentration to look right at that puncher and step in and beat him to the mark.
Once again, Corley exposed himself after throwing that right hand.
Again, no jab.
None at all.
Southpaw Corley, so he's allowing Dulorme to have a real good view of him as he comes forward. A real good view where he can pick spots for that right hand.
There are the jab numbers, as you see. Dulorme over twice the amount that Corley has thrown.
You know, whether you're a puncher or a boxer, in this case, Dulorme a puncher, if you have nothing coming at you, no jab coming at you, much easier job for you.
Good exchange at the end of 4. Interesting fight so far.
But the other man does the same thing. He weaves under his shot, but then gets caught a little shot, stepping straight back.
In the 3rd round, Corley did not get out of the way of a left hand from Dulorme. It was a big shot, in the last minute of that third round. And Corley went down hard and was able to survive the ensuing attack from Dulorme. That's the 10-8 round on Teddy's scorecard. That has the 21-year-old up 39 to 36. There's a right hand from Dulorme.
So far, no problem on the inside with any head clashes, but Corley has been involved with head clashes 2 fights ago. As we said, he was on the floor 9 times before being stopped.
You also said earlier that Dulorme, possibly the strategy of Corley is to get him into the deep waters later into the fight. Well, you just saw moments ago, as our folks put up, this is first time in the youngster's career that he has entered the 5th round of a fight.
And I don't think he's worrying about it too much. He's had his opponent on the floor, and for the most part, he's in control of the pace.
No doubt. Corley now comes forward when they tie up.
A lot of 1 punches at a time here tonight. And that's where I'm surprised. You have the young fighter, Dulorme, throwing 1 punch at a time. Although he's the much busier guy here. He's the one who's staying in control as far as being the boss in there. Definitely moving his hands more than Corley, but you would have again thought that the veteran Corley would have started using that jab. Trying to keep Dulorme a little distracted and keep something on him. So as the rounds go by, maybe his mind gets a little cloudy.
Dulorme went up with the left hand, then a body shot with the right hand. Digs to the body again on that exchange with the right hand.
Dulorme not throwing a lot. Of course, Corley throwing even less, but Dulorme trying to make it count. He looks for spots.
Halfway point of the scheduled 10-rounder. Famous dancers and performers have strutted their stuff here in New York. West 53rd, not far away from the Late Show with David Letterman, just across the street. And in a few minutes, we will have a star in boxing with us. Miguel Cotto will be joining us ringside as we get ready for our all Puerto Rican main event between Kenny Galarza, who's a good-looking puncher, 14 wins, 14 knockouts, and Irving Garcia. That is set to come your way. Cotto will join us in the midst of this fight.
Dulorme has been active recently. The right way to do it, give his people credit. This is the 4th fight in 5 months for the 21-year-old. The more often you get in the ring, the better you get. The calmer you get, the more confident you get. And the more wins you get.
More body work from Dulorme. Reminder that ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball continues on Sunday and Monday night. We got Reds Giants on Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Then Monday Night Baseball, Indians and Yankees, as the countdown for Derek Jeter to 3,000 hits is on in this metro New York area, Teddy. I got tickets for Tuesday night to bring my son. He's been hoping Jeter makes it to Tuesday night, 10 away from 3,000.
I think a lot of people hope that he can do it, obviously, while he's at home. For your son, John, who's a great fan, great kid.
Big Yankees fan.
Yeah, I hope that Jeter does get it done that night. Right now, Corley definitely not getting it done. Not using that jab. Not
double up that right hand now.
But not using that jab to keep Dulorme not only busy, distracted, but put a little pressure on him. Make him think about being in uncharted territory. being past the 4th round for the first time in his career. Take advantage of the experience that Corley has. Corley has been 10 rounds or better 15 times. Corley at the point where he needs a big punch now.
But in there with some of the best, Cotto and Mayweather and Zab.
Just a moment ago, Dulorme turned southpaw. He does that once in a while, his switch. Derek Jeter's not a switch hitter, but Dulorme is.
Scored with that left hand at the end of the 3rd round, where a right hand actually came wide and turned him around, and he got all that back foot leverage with the left hand that scored the knockdown in the final 30 seconds against Corley, who had to survive. He was hurt at the end of that round. As we come here to the end of round number 6, the 21-year-old in control, looking to go 12-0.
Well, if you can hit him with right hands one time, Dulorme figures you can hit him twice. So he reloads, 2 for the price of 1.
Joe and Teddy ringside here in New York. Puerto Rican Day Parade coming up on Sunday, and a Puerto Rican main event coming up between Kenny Galarza and Irving Garcia. And at the conclusion of this round, we will visit with the #1 junior middleweight in the world, Miguel Cotto. Let's look at Teddy's scorecard. And keep in mind that 3rd round, when the knockdown was scored, 10-8 Dulorme, 59-54 for the unbeaten 21-year-old, says Teddy.
Again, no jab from the veteran Corley. It's like he came in here so concerned about not getting caught with that big right hand. He forgot that he's got to offer some offense if he's going to have a chance to win. And there's still an opportunity, but now the opportunity, as I said the last round for Corley, is to land a big shot. And every once in a while, Dulorme will drop that right hand to throw the right uppercut from a little too far away. And that's where I think the chance for Corley will be. Step in with a left hand if he sees that right uppercut coming. But again, not an easy thing to do, Joe. Because you're basically looking right into the mouth of the lion. You know, you gotta.
And he's already roared earlier against you.
Yeah, and he's taking a little nip out of you. You know, you gotta be right there, see those teeth, see that jaw. And when you see that right hand drop a little bit, step in with the left. No jabs from Corley, but single jabs every once in a while from Dulorme. Enough to keep the edge, enough to keep Corley where he wants to keep him. You see the defense of Corley there. You wouldn't expect him to get caught those punches, though. Those are crooked punches, as I said early. Dulorme, he's got power in the right hand, but when he throws it like a boomerang.
Round number 8 here between Dulorme and DeMarcus Corley. It was back in February of '05. Corley and Cotto went at it down in native Puerto Rico. Have you seen Thomas Dulorme before?
It's my first time seeing him.
Miguel, I think the question that I want to ask, and I would think that a lot of the fans out there, somebody just won a title. I think you heard of that name before. A guy named Chavez. You know that name, Chavez?
Yeah, I know who was Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yeah, and I was just wondering if there's any interest in your mind to fight him. Because to me, that would be a real test for Chavez. I know he's a little bigger, but not that much bigger. He blew up a little bit after the weigh-in for his last fight, but he was only fighting at 160 pounds, your junior middleweight.
Yep.
To me, that would not be much of a climb for you, and that would be a very interesting test for the young Chavez.
Yeah, I'm always trying to be prepared enough for my opponents, and if it's Chavez, my next opponent, I'm going to be ready for him.
Have you given any thought to it?
No, we didn't. We have to sit with the company and check, you know, what they matching for us, and then we can.
So you have given a little thought to it. Okay. I can read in between the punches a little bit. What do you think about tonight? Are you surprised that a veteran like Corley is not using his jab?
Yeah, Dulorme was amazing. Looks amazing this night. You know, taking advantage of his boxing skills against Corley.
Miguel, we're going to see Kenny Galarza in our main event. You are familiar with Kenny Galarza, obviously, from...
Yeah, his brother was in the Olympic team with me.
And your thoughts on Galarza now as an emerging prospect?
Yeah, all those guys come from Team Puerto Rico. They are pretty good boxers. The sky is the limit, and the future is on their hands.
Champ, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Always great to visit with you.
Thank you, Dave.
Good having you. Good luck.
That is the #1 junior middleweight in the world, Miguel Cotto. And you see the, you know, I always marvel with Miguel, Teddy, is...
You know, he's thinking about Chavez. You saw how he answered that. No. They've already, believe me, there's already been a little bit of looking into that situation.
I think he'd eat that right up. 2 rounds to go between Dulorme and Carlo. Continuing our conversation after this.
Real game kid who knows how to behave like a fighter. A kid who goes to the body, not with the power, not the complete effectiveness of the father, but you can see the heritage. You can see the gene pool as far as the mindset, as far as wanting to go to the body and wanting to engage. But a guy who doesn't use all his physical assets. He's tall, he's long, and he fights a short man's fight. And I think that somewhere down the road, if they're not careful, there'll be a price paid for that.
Potential opponent for Cotto down the road. We'll see what happens this fall with Cotto, who he will step in with, coming off the victory against Ricardo Mayorga. Right now, the future of the pride of the Puerto Rican fans is in front of us. Thomas Dulorme, 21 years old. He's been in control throughout against DeMarcus Corley. He scored that knockdown in round number 3.
Have Miguel Cotto here, real gentleman, besides a world champion. Also in the audience is the Los Angeles Police Department boxing team. They came into New York to put on a match against the New York Police Department, and was rained out last night with all that thunder and lightning, and so they're here, and you know, they do a great job, as the New York Police Department boxing team does. And when they fight their matches raise money, and it goes to different things. And the Los Angeles Police Department have fought many matches here over the last few years in New York, and have raised thousands of dollars, actually hundreds of thousands of dollars, for the survivors of 9/11 and cancer victims. So along with the New York City Police Department, we applaud the Los Angeles Police Department.
They got a really nice response when they were announced just before we went on air. Sitting right behind us is the LAPD fighters. Corley still searching for that answer as he eats a couple of right hands from Dulorme, who then puts his punches together. Haven't always seen that tonight.
Dulorme's been effective, not exciting, but he's been effective. And part of his effectiveness is because he's young, he's strong. He knows how to take control here tonight, but he's been helped by a very inactive Corley, a fighter who, for the most part, has kept his punches in his pocket.
Of course, our main event still to come, Galarza and Garcia. Plus, we'll talk the Hall of Fame. And here at the end of round number 9, a chance to check back into the studio. And Jeremy Sheff. Dulorme And Corley, 10th and final round. So Glenn Johnson, Carl Froch. I thought it was a real good, solid effort put forth by both guys the other night. What was your takeaway on that fight, Teddy?
Well, a little too young. Froch, 9 years younger. What a good fight. Mix it up a little bit. Controlled the outside a little bit. Distance where he knew that Glenn Johnson would be doing what he always looks to do. Get inside and do a job. So he kept it on the outside, and then he gauged them in spots on the inside. I thought there were even spots where Froch could have backed up Johnson a little bit. You know, Johnson's not used to being backed up. In those little spots he did, he was effective. But good job by Froch, and good job, as always, by the gentleman champion, Glenn Cork Johnson, at 42 years of age. You know, just slowing down just enough for a 9-year younger Froch to take advantage.
Commanding lead on Teddy's scorecard for the unbeaten 21-year-old Dulorme. Let's see how he finishes things up here against Chop Chop Corley. A little more urgency now here in round number 10, putting his punches together, digging well with the right hand to the body consistently. And just to wrap up the discussion of Froch, Ward would have to be an overwhelming favorite in that tournament fight.
Ward, you know, Ward does everything he does it better, and he does it shorter.
No doubt.
You know, Froch throws his punches just a little bit of a curve on him. You know, a little fat. And Ward doesn't do that. His punches are a little more concise. He can fight on the outside if Froch wants to do that, and he could definitely fight on the inside if Froch is so inclined.
Ward number 9 in Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound list right now.
You know, talking about all the different fights being made and possibly being made, talking about Miguel Cotto as far as what might be on his calendar. There was an announcement, it's been a lot of talk about Mayweather fighting Victor Ortiz, and I know that was pretty interesting getting to that fight. From what I heard, Paul Spadafora, who's still undefeated, the former world champion, people forget that, he's still undefeated, southpaw, that he was in the mix there for a possibility with Mayweather until finally Mayweather wound up going with Victor Ortiz. So a lot of interesting matches and fights being bantered around out there.
And in the coming years, possibly Thomas Dulorme will find himself in the mix of some of those big name, big cash, big reward fights. For now, a move to 12-0 as he has gone the distance.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards, and all three judges, Kevin Morgan, Tony Paolillo, and Robin Taylor, are in agreement, scoring it exactly the same, 99-90. All in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. And now, the NABA USA welterweight champion from Carolina, Puerto Rico, Thomas